Welcome back, everybody. Now, throughout the last year, patients diagnosed with blood cancer and blood disorders have undergone life-saving blood stem cell transplants. However, the chances remain 1 in 100,000 for patients diagnosed with blood cancers and blood disorders in finding matching donors. In light of this, DKMS Africa is appealing to South Africans to be the hero and register as blood stem cell donors to save a life in 2023. For more on this, we are joined via Zoom by registered donor Charl Sonnekus, and with him is DKMS SA's Communications Manager Nabiella de Beer. A very good morning to you too. Thank you so much for joining us. Welcome to Morning Live.
Good morning, Simply.
Good morning.
Nabiella, let me start with you, and I want us to start with you telling us about the need for stem cell donors in South Africa.
So as you so adequately said, if someone has a blood cancer or blood disorder, there's a 1 in 100,000 chance that they'll find a match, right? People don't really know about blood cancer in our country. We obviously know about the more prevalent ones, such as breast cancer and prostate cancer. However, blood cancer is one of the 5th most common cancers in our country, with someone being diagnosed every 72 minutes. So if you put those stats together, you can realize that eventually someone you know, or someone in your close circles will be affected by blood cancer. The reality about this cancer is that in many instances, the only cure for these people, as I said, is a blood stem cell transplant. And there's a 25% chance you'll find a match within your own family, which means that you then need to look outside of your family for a perfect stranger to be your match. Essentially, we look for a genetic twin for that patient.
Okay.
Charles, one of the few people who are actually a genetic twin for a patient. And so he's come on board, he registered, he donated for someone, and he's the perfect example of how we can actually make a difference to the world.
Right, right. Now, Charl, what inspired you to register as a blood stem cell donor?
I was at work one day looking at Facebook, and I came across an article about a young boy named Seth who was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. And the article just gave a bit of detail about how his life had changed and how it affected him, and not only him, but the people around him, his close family and such. And I don't know, something about that and in that moment made me decide to maybe just see if I could be an eligible donor. And I went ahead, I clicked on the link, and I followed the process afterwards. And yes, luckily enough, I was found to be a match for a recipient.
Now, Charl, for purposes of those who might not understand the intricacies and the technicalities of being a blood stem cell donor, what is it exactly that you donate?
Okay. It's not as technical or as difficult as it seems at all. That was what was the most surprising about the whole process. So it started off by me checking my eligibility, as I mentioned, which was via a link provided on the article. Or for anyone who is interested in it, you can just go to the DKMS website or any of their social media pages. You just fill in a short questionnaire, which just asks for some background info. And after that, it was within a week or so, I received my swab kit, which I then just used to swab the inside of my mouth, which they then background check via DNA to make sure that I am a possible match for a recipient. It was, I think, a few months after that, I received news from DKMS that I was going to be a match or a potential match for a recipient. And after this, it's just a few tests to make sure that you as an individual are 100% healthy or healthy enough to go through with the process and are 100% match for the recipient. And yes, it was just very, very simple. No costs involved either. DKMS throughout the whole process was very, very supportive and understanding as well. They make sure that you are comfortable throughout the whole process, that you as an individual don't feel forced to go through with anything. If you perhaps want to know more specifically about the procedure itself, it's like I said in the original interview and press release, it's just a little bit more than a blood donation. So what they do is it starts off with receiving some injections that you take just to prepare your body, which separates the stem cells from the blood flow or the blood. And on the day, it's just a blood donation. They just insert a needle into one of your main lines, and yes, you just have to be lying in bed and donate some blood. It's very, very simple.
Oh, okay. So it's essentially a blood donation. You just donate blood.
Essentially a blood,
okay.
Just a little bit more than a blood donation.
Okay, all right.
So
Nabiella,
actually,
yeah, go ahead.
If I can just jump in before
Sure.
we confuse the viewers. So it's similar to a blood donation, but it's different in the fact that when you lay there, we draw your blood then goes through a apheresis or stem cell separator machine. So we then split the blood from the stem cells. Your blood is then returned back into your other arm, and then your stem cells goes into one of those IV drip bags, which we then use for the patient. So yeah, it's quite similar to blood donation, but it's not the same. We do have a lot of misconceptions around blood donation because that process is a little bit more simple. I mean, if you are a particular blood group, you can then donate to that blood group. And there's so few blood groups that there's a lot more possibility of you actually, registering and making a difference. Whereas with stem cell donation, if you register today, I mean, I'm a registered donor. I registered, I think, 2 years ago. I'm still waiting to be someone's match. So in that way, it's very different to blood donation because it's not always that you're going to be someone's match. And that's why we need more people on the registry so that there are, more possibilities of donors matching patients.
And let's now talk about the lack of stem cell donors in South Africa. Why are people not registering to donate? So
as I said earlier, every 72 minutes someone is diagnosed. What's scary is that in our country, there's only 0.04% registered donors. And there's many different reasons. There's a lot of misconceptions around it, like the one around blood donation versus stem cell donation. Some people think if you are registered as a blood donor, automatically you're a stem cell donor, or if you registered as an organ donor, you're a stem cell donor. That's not the case. We are a separate registry. Then there are, of course, a lot of cultural misconceptions around stem cell donation. Then people think it's this really hectic, painful process. As Charl said, it's quite a simple process. It requires a bit of time. So it's around 4 to 6 hours that you need to be in that bed donating, which is, again, different to donating blood because that takes far less time. And I think the major thing is the lack of education and awareness. And so obviously as DKMS Africa, it's our job to create that education and awareness, to go and, get people to get involved with our cause, to advocate for us, to bring a voice to the patients that we have. And so we're working really, really hard on various campaigns so that we are seen, so that people do understand what blood cancer is. They do understand what stem cell donation is, because it's quite a foreign term. I mean, I've spoken to people who have kids that have actually lost their children to these cancers. And they were saying to me that if their daughter didn't have leukemia, for example, they would have never known about stem cell donation. They would have never known about blood cancer or anything like that. So, I think education and awareness is the major thing, because once you start educating people, you can actually see the difference in them. Then they start going, well, actually, it's not that scary. I could save a life if I give, X amount of time to that person. And so,
Right. All right, Nabiella and Charl, great chatting to you two. Thank you so much for joining us and for opening our eyes to the whole concept of blood stem cell donation. We do appreciate your time.